What is going on, FA Nation? John Member here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Playbook live show. Apologies for being a little late here today. I had some technical difficulties getting my system all situated here, but we're live. We're ready to go. We got a big slate. Grande was on your playbook here today. He's got all of that information for you guys live over at Fantasy Alarm. We just updated the latest ownership over at Fantasy Alarm as well for today's main slate. Grande, man, again, you did the big work today. You were on the playbook. What's your sort of overall outlook of today's slate?
My outlook is there's 24 teams playing, lots of players. Let's get into it.
Lots of players, do we know who's pitching for the Athletics yet?
We don't.
We
have no idea.
That is going to be a headline that we'll discuss. We appreciate everybody tuning in. We do go position by position. If you were new to the show, we'll give you our core plays here at the end. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Pitching, Rodon, 10-3, your top price starting pitcher. Hunter Green, the Christopher Sanchez, Pablo Lopez, and Freddie Peralta round out the 9K tier. The morning show, we went pretty extensive in our talk on Carlos Rodon. Is he your top pitcher for today?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on where you're trying to go. There's obviously like super expensive offenses today, but do those super expensive offenses trump the super expensive pitcher that has gone for 30 fantasy points, a boatload of times? Just depends on where your roster construction takes you. But Rodon's been, biased, Yankees bias aside, he's been as good as anyone over the last like 2 months. So from a strikeout standpoint, there's nobody on this slate that can and really has come close to Rodon on a consistent basis. So he is the top arm. Obviously, it comes at a price.
Yeah, for sure. If you're working your way down and also kind of taking ownership into account here today, Rodon's number 2 in ownership. Hunter Green, second in pricing, third in ownership today. Spencer Strider is actually your highest rostered pitcher so far today. Now that may update. 2 hours to roster lock. You and I did talk about Strider, price point versus ceiling of talent versus opponent here. Are you shying away from Strider knowing that he is the top owned pitcher for today?
I'm not. And in a lot of situations like this, I would, but I don't care because I know that we're not getting Spencer Strider at this price forever again, right? Like, and this is a situation we've used plenty of good elite pitchers against good offenses before, and we have that here. And I'm not saying he's invincible, and I'm not saying Arizona isn't worth like the pause and like, should I play a chalky Strider? But like, we're just going to see him $10,000 when he gets it, when he finds his stride. And so I'm not passing on this. I'll be different elsewhere. I have a lot of under-owned plays in the playbook today that you could find at fantasyalarm.com. Some nice alliteration in the playbook in the write-up as well that you guys could take a look at if you don't have a subscription. Head over to Fantasy Alarm for your 7-day free trial now. But I'm not going to pass on Strider at this price. I think 8,500 looks great. I know the matchup isn't, but we talked about this on the pre-show, and I tried to get to something else. Like I try in this range. Like we talked like extensively about everyone in this range.
Ownership is getting Kirby today.
Yeah, I'm so anti Kirby today. It's crazy. And maybe that's I know. I wrote up Orioles today. And I'm not like saying that George Kirby is like a bad pitcher, because he's obviously there's a history of him not being that pitcher. But I've said it twice, and now he's making his third start, and I'll say it again. He's coming off a shoulder injury. The velocity is fine. That's not an issue. He's changed his pitch mix. He's throwing less strikes. This is his bread and butter has been strike thrower. That has been I have immaculate control guy. That has not been George Kirby through 2 starts. Is that because the arm? Is that because the shoulder?
Probably, right?
It's
Didn't have
definitely
spring, like
it's definitely at least early going a potential, like George Kirby can go on this little rehab, but he missed a large part of the year. And now they're throwing him into the mix. Like last year, George Kirby's issue was lefties, right? That was he dominated against righties. Lefties had a 177 ISO against them. Like there was power. That was a concern. This year, 2 starts, 435 ISO. It's the same, consistent issue, except last year, 25% K rate against lefties. This year, it's only been 16. And I know, like, again, it's only a 2-start sample that's going to come around, whatnot, but Orioles have a lot of lefties. And like I know they've obviously been a bad team, but like it's also a situation where Jackson Holliday coming into his own, lefty. Adley Rutschman, pretty bad. Some of the, the expected stuff looks pretty good. Gunnar Henderson, good. Ryan O'Hearn, really good. Colton Cowser coming off the IL, guy's really good. Has been really good. At least last year was in the top 3 in Rookie of the Year voting. Dylan Carlson, out of the woodworks, been great. Like there's a lot of good lefties to go against George Kirby today, and you and I profiled it last night. It's been a weirdly good home run park this year in Seattle. And does Cal Raleigh have something to do with that? Yeah. But it's not just Cal Raleigh ranking them 6th overall in home run factor. So I'm against the field here. I was against the field last start. They were on them. I'm against the field today. And until George Kirby shows signs of life, I would rather just play a chalky Strider. If we're talking about 2 pitchers in this tier, I'd just rather play Strider.
Yep. Not to overlook Hunter Green and Pablo Lopez. Kind of was just talking about where some of the ownership was going here on this slate. Do you consider either of them viable? We've talked obviously elite strikeout upside for Green, a little bit of struggle since he's returned from his injury. Lopez obviously pitching in that ballpark in Sacramento where runs can be scored. Both of those guys, 20, 18%. In the top 5 in ownership here today. Do you have any interest in building lineups around either of those 2?
Yes, Hunter Green's definitely solid. I saw we had a comment on the pre-show today about how bad Hunter Green's been, and I get it, but like you said it last night, and we've said it for a couple shows now. He's not coming off an arm injury.
Yeah.
And previously, he's not generating swings and misses. That's what he has been at a 6% swinging strike rate since returning from the IL. That's obviously going to change. He throws 100 miles an hour and his slider falls off a cliff, right? It's not
at like 86, right? He's throwing 100 and he's throwing 86
dude,
at a break.
You think that 6% swinging strike rate is going to continue? Well, you're mathing wrong. Like it's obviously things are going to turn around. So yes, I like Hunter Green. I'm indifferent about Pablo Lopez. Like the A's are, so I don't know if you saw this stat. The A's staff now owns the worst ERA in baseball, and that is worse than a team with 9 wins. That's when you know it's bad. Like they're worse than the worst team in the history of baseball. Or 10 wins, sorry.
Yeah, 10 they got their 10th win. There was the stat going into yesterday was Antonio Senzatella had more losses than the Rockies had wins this year.
I also think they're now 4-0 following like 6 game losing streaks or something like that. So a lot of bad stats, but but the A's offense hasn't really been a problem. The A's offense teed off on Joe Ryan and beat up Joe Ryan last night. 4 runs over whatever 5 innings Joe Ryan threw, 6 innings. We know Lopez is a fly ball pitcher. That's how I feel about Pablo Lopez. Great pitcher. Usually we have nothing bad to say about Pablo Lopez. Just not the spot. Just can he rack up strikeouts? Sure. Can he have a great outing? Obviously, he's great. Not in this ballpark. I will
defer.
I will defer. Let the other people play him.
And then after that is the game in Boston. Both Bayo and Kikuchi are getting in that like 12, 13% range. They're in the value tier under $7,000 here today. We obviously know that LA can, hit a lot of home runs. They can also generate a lot of strikeouts. Kikuchi, as you've mentioned, dominant against left-handed hitters this year, and Boston obviously has, their best hitters from the left side of the plate. Any differences in evaluating this matchup today?
I am my preferred option of the two, and I think both are fine. And I think I'm not necessarily surprised to see them checking in with ownership. It makes sense, right? You could see one or the other having like a super high ceiling or just a crooked score.
Yeah,
I lean Bayo of the two. And I broke it down on fantasyalarm.com today, but Brian Bayo's struggles come against lefties. That has been the Brian Bayo saga that if you go back and listen to any one of our shows from the last, 4 years?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like,
since he's been up.
What does Brian Bayo struggle with? Lefty power. Hey, John, guess what? He gave up 2 home runs to lefties. Guess how many lefties the Angels have in their lineup tonight, John?
1.
2. Can you name them?
Shanuel and I honestly no. I don't think I know who the
Luis
second one.
Rengifo.
Oh, the switcher, right? Yeah, okay.
Rengifo, right? So I think it's like it's just one of those things where you look at Brian Bayo against righties this year. He's been good. 22% strikeout rate, 3.15 xFIP. Angels are we've talked about it extensively. Could hit home runs. They're 5th in ISO. They also strike out 26% of the time. Like if you're looking at a lot of this pitching grossness today, I think that there's a legitimate case to be made for like Brian Bayo to outscore almost every pitcher above him before like Spencer Strider. I don't think there's one pitcher that you can definitively make a good case for that's like, yep, definitely going to score more than Brian Bayo, because I don't think that's true. Like I would have liked Drew Rasmussen, and we haven't talked about the weather in that game.
Weather, yeah.
But there is severe weather with a potential hurricane on the horizon, right? Like there is a hurricane, or like they're monitoring a hurricane.
Yeah, it's like 90+% chance of rain or something like that. So.
Yeah, it's not a game that you want to target. So, I think Bayo looks super solid here. Landon Rout.
That was the other one I mentioned on the preview show, because you've also talked about San Diego's recent righty issues, and I see that Rout's in your playbook as well.
Yeah, I mean so you look at like all the metrics for Rout, like everything's just solid. Strikeout per inning, he's literally at 1.9 Ks per 9, so 1 strikeout per inning. And everything else mid 3s. Sierra, xFIP, ERA all sit at the same mid 3 number. Like great pitching environment. Obviously, San Francisco is an elite ballpark, and the Padres are just mediocre. They don't strike out a lot. That's the one thing they have behind, on their side. But 17th or worse against righties this year in OPS, WOBA, and WRC+. It's just not like a great offense.
Last 2 weeks versus right-handed pitching, dead last in batting average, 29th in WOBA.
It's so like Jackson Merrill came back from the IL and didn't get out, and then since then he hasn't really done anything, and that is like running parallel to Tatis's struggles. And it's like if Machado or Gavin Sheets aren't doing damage, they really haven't done anything. And like to be fair, the back half of their lineup has been an issue all year. Like that is a pretty bad second half of the lineup. Mm-hmm. Like Cronenworth is not who everyone thinks he is. Obviously, Xander Bogaerts is nowhere near the version he wasn't. Like it's just not a great second half. So you get Roop in his home ballpark, who's been a good pitcher. That would be the other guy I might, take shots on, especially if you were in the like Rasmussen business, because obviously the Rasmussen spot was good, and unless the rain gets better, like if the rain gets better, then I think we have a definite case for Rasmussen.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, like Roop is definitely a pivot, and then Bayo and I didn't really expand on Kikuchi, but I definitely think he's obviously fine too. You're splitting hairs between Bayo and Kikuchi. They're both like not pitching deep into games. They both have toughish matchups, but
I mean, Kikuchi's been the better pitcher despite record in terms of like surface numbers, and we know from a like pure strikeout standpoint, he's been the better historical strikeout pitcher as well. But I don't know. Boston has these weird guys in their lineups that just hit lefties well, so it's just Romy Gonzalez has 2 RBIs, and Ref Snyder does what he does last night, and Toro and all these. You're like, oh well. It's great that he'll get out Duran and Devers tonight, but everything else is on play.
John, few things I just want to point out. One, shout out to Brandon. I don't know if you saw that. Good show yesterday. He spent $5 and won $375.
Tigers, man.
Salute to you, Brandon. Great play. Kerry Bonds
with the triple dong.
I assume Kerry Bonds might have cracked the
in your lineup. Parker Meadows on
there.
The top. Yeah.
Then next one was Anthony says DraftKings has Beto. That is correct. And so does Fangraphs. But there has been no announcement. I have feverishly spammed updates from the A's, from the beat reporters, just simply typing in Osvaldo Beto on Twitter, simply typing in Jacob Lopez on Twitter. Yeah. There's nothing confirmed.
I'll say this. You don't need to give this show specifically a reason to play Minnesota.
You don't.
But Osvaldo Beto in Sacramento would be a big reason for us to play some Minnesota today.
And if that's a piggyback situation, 5 Twins minimum.
Yeah. Easy.
So that's one. And then Anthony asking on X or on Twitter, I'm not calling it X. Any idea about Herter versus Gibson Long? There has not been an announcement other than Brisky starting.
Yeah.
Yet. And we don't know if Gibson Long is going to start tomorrow. We don't know if Gibson Long is going to be the long man today.
Apparently, as of after we recorded last night, this updated. Chris McCoskey of the Detroit News says that Herter's going to be the starter, or the opener or whatever here. So
yeah, but that's on you're saying on Wednesday.
Oh yeah, this is a way late date too. Never mind. This is
because they announced Brisky as the starter today.
Sure.
And then DraftKings also updated Brent Herter as the long man, but that has not been that has not been confirmed. Like the Brisky starting has been. There hasn't been anything as I have seen about like who is coming in. So I don't know, but we know Brisky's starting. That's all we know. So I would have a really hard time. I don't know if you remember this, John. Last year, I tried to play the Kenta Maeda long game on like a smaller slate, and they didn't use him. He didn't pitch. He was projected. But that is what Detroit does. They're like super not going to tell you what they're going to do after the opener. So like it could be Gibson Long.
Sure.
Might be Brent Herter. We don't know. So I actually like Gibson Long in that non-starting role because I didn't think he would qualify for a win if he started the game because he only threw like 55 pitches in his last rehab start. So if Gibson Long is the long man, I actually do like him as like a SP2, but you would have to confirm before the game that he was the SP2. I don't think you can play him if you were just going in blind.
Okay. Anything else here at pitching?
No, I want to target everyone else.
Yeah, we'll get to it then. Going to the catcher position here, obviously Kyle Rowley, $5,500. Will Smith, Ivan Herrera, your usual suspects up top. I saw in the playbook, you said the Braves are going to score, was it a gallon of runs today?
Braves to score gallons of runs.
Drake Baldwin's in second.
Yeah, dude.
All right. $4,300.
And their top 5 looks great. That if you can afford their top 5 and do a full stack with the Braves, and that includes Baldwin, that go off.
Mhm.
Do it because Drake Baldwin is super good. So I mean, of the 4K and up guys, like Baldwin and Raleigh are the two that stand out the most. And obviously you can play Ivan Herrera because Lorenzen is, reverse splits, but Baldwin and Raleigh would be the top 2 there.
Sure. And if you bit of hyperbole on our path, calling it hurricanes, but if you go look at the Roth weather report, it's basically like 90% rain coverage in that area. Still only in orange, so I guess we'll wait and see on Tampa Bay, but it's just a high possibility of rain in the Tampa Bay area there. So obviously not literal hurricanes, but you get kind of
It is hurricane season, John. Started in June.
Yeah, the gist of what, you're a former Floridian. You know what it's like down there. All right, so we got Baldwin, obviously $4,300 in a great spot here. Thoughts sort of on the rest of this catcher position? Any favorable targets for you?
I mean, I would love to know if Ryan Jeffers is going to get a lefty, or if Ryan Jeffers is going to get a right.
Does it matter entirely if it's Beto?
No, it doesn't matter if it's Beto. He rakes against lefties, and I think they'll hit him in a better lineup position. So I like Jeffers. I like Alejandro Kirk, who has been absolutely demolishing baseballs, and he's been demolishing baseballs against lefties. I like Salvi, $3,200 against right reverse splits. Payante. Salvi's now protected by Jack. Jack Kaggs is now protecting Salvi in the lineup. So I like Salvi hitting 6. So yeah, those would be probably the preferred options.
All right, let's see. They have Fry hitting cleanup today, huh? Look at that.
Yeah.
All right, that's probably it then, a catcher, right?
Yeah.
All right, first base. Get to the more interesting spot here. Your cover of today's playbook is Sir Bryce Harper. If you paid attention to the preview show or any show we've done this year, we talked about Bowden Francis and his struggles specifically against left-handed pitching. 3.4, I think, homers per 9 we had it at last night.
3.45.
Yeah, 3.45 homers per 9. The lefties, just horrific numbers against left-handed hitters. 617 slugging, 405 WOBA. We're going to want to get a lot of Philly lefties in our lineup specifically here today, because this is a team that can hit home runs. He got away with facing Josh Smith, Jonah Heim, and Asuna in his last start. He's going to pay the price tonight against Philadelphia. Yeah,
I mean, it's the home runs, the almost a 50% fly ball rate, 36% hard hit rate. They're playing 5 lefties tonight: Schwarber, Harper, Stott, Kepler. Kind of waiting to see. The expectation was that Harper would play today, and he is, which is great.
Yep.
Because I want all the Bryce Harper and all the Phillies lefties. So yeah, he is my top first baseman of the day. I think that there's a strong case to play everyone here. I mean, like Guerrero up, I don't have an objection to. If you want to play any singular first baseman from Vladdy up, I'll be like, yep.
I was gonna say, is there a reason you're leaving your Yankees off that limit there, or you're just highlighting 5K up? Or do you think Rice and Goldschmidt against?
No, of course you could always play Yankees if you want. I don't have I'm not stacking them. I think they're incredibly expensive against a good pitcher, but they also are in Yankee Stadium and can hit a lot of home runs.
So. Jazz is back today. They got Rice in the 2-hole.
It's a good lineup, and they are very powerful. they may hit 7 home runs, right? They might hit 20. The Yankees score a lot of runs, so it wouldn't be surprising. But okay. You know what, John? You win. Okay, Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn and up. Ryan O'Hearn and up.
Sure. Work your way below Ryan O'Hearn then. where do you? I mean, Flores obviously has some RBI equity potentially. Soderstrom has some power. Ty France, we mentioned, whether it's Beto or Lopez, probably good here. At $3,800. Any I mean, obviously Caglione is 3,500, hitting 6 today. You can play him at first in the outfield.
Yeah, I think Ty France is probably the guy that I want. Now his expected numbers against lefties are super elite. So I almost would play him, like Warren said, if Beto's pitching. It's like another one where I would just play him in general. I think Jacob Lopez might actually be better for Ty France, but
Sure.
if Beto's good for everybody. Beto allows a lot of home runs.
60% fly ball rate, right?
Yeah, it's terrible. So if Osvaldo Beto's the starter, or I think just Ty France in general. I don't hate like anyone else above. I don't have like a strong desire to really play any of them. I think Caglione looks good at $3,500. Vinny Paz hitting 4th. Clement with the first base eligibility, $2,900, looks pretty good. And then you could play Toro, who moved up has done so well. They're just continuously moving him up in the lineup.
He's hitting 5th and Romy's hitting 4th.
I know they took Narvaez is getting a day off, right? So he's
so Long's in 8th.
Yeah. So there's some good value. I would also, never doubt a Rowdy home run against a guy who allows home runs to lefties in Sugano. So that's a thing too.
Second base, Ketel Marte up at the top against Strider. Jazz back, expensive though, hitting 6th. Lau again in the rain game potentially. Thoughts, I guess, on the top grouping, or is it just sort of like Stott, Holiday, Albies?
My thoughts are I'm basically not playing the top grouping. Bryson Stott, Albies, I'd rather probably play. I'd probably rather play Holiday, but that's also I'm like anti-Kirby today, and so maybe that's my anti-Kirbiness showing. But I'd rather play Stott, Holiday. I also think this is like a pretty good position to spend down, depending now. Like if Beto's starting, this brings Cody Clemens back into our lives, like big time. Cody Clemens would stand out. Willie Castro, switch hitter, doesn't matter. You could play him against either split. We'll see what Brooks Lee is doing. We talked Clement already. We have where's our boy Chase Young or Cole Young? Chase Young is a defensive end. Not Chase Young, but Cole Young hitting 8th tonight, $2,100. So I think all those plays look really. Where's hold on. Okay, he's not here. We're good.
Third base then. Up at the top, Ramirez and Devers, really tough matchups. Jazz, as you mentioned, a little bit overexpensive. Machado, Eugenio. On the preview show, I just started with Austin Riley at $4,600 against Gallen. Do you have a favorite third baseman today?
Favorite third baseman? It's probably Austin Riley. I like Michael Garcia in the reverse split, hitting 3rd quite a bit. That's an interesting lineup spot. I don't mind Muncy. I don't mind Alec Boehm. I like Alec Boehm hitting 5th, and I like the price. He's actually been better against righties this year than he has been in years past. I know I shouldn't like Royce Lewis. I do, unfortunately, considering he's 0 for his last 30. But I almost can't say a bad thing about any Twins, just depending on where they're lining up. All I've seen all show is that Poe Degen is just, I think he either has a crush on Addison Barger or is a family member of Addison Barger. I'm not going to play him probably here against the lefty. The home run he hit the other day did come against a righty.
Okay.
He has no home runs hit against lefties this year. I was looking at that earlier. Has not fared well against lefties. Now, Philly has a terrible bullpen, and that's obviously been a thing. So, like, if you get Sanchez out of the game early enough, then we're talking about a bullpen that now features Taijuan Walker in high leverage innings, by the way. So that's where the state of the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen is. Taijuan Walker in high leverage situations. So you could play Po Degen's favorite player in Addison Barger if you want. But that's probably as far down as you need to go.
Okay. Shortstop, then we go. Obviously, Ellie up at the top at 61, Trey Turner 58, Lindor 56, Bobby Witts $5,500, Wiki Betts 53, NATO at $5,200. If you're spending up at short today, how would you kind of rank them out for us?
Man, that's tough. I probably go Lindor 1 and Witt 2. But obviously Turner, if you can afford to play him, I don't think he's like the priority amongst Phillies, but if you can afford to get to Trey Turner with the other guys, like you play him third. So I'll go Lindor and Witt 1 and 2. That's just how I would rank them. I probably don't get to Nato. Bale's been good against righties, but obviously Zach Nato is good. Ellie, you can always play with, so, and I think Mookie's going to be back tonight. So
yeah, I think that's the expectation there. Gunner obviously at $4,700.
Yeah.
Great price tag. We like the matchup. We think here today, Jacob Wilson, $4,500 is just hitting everybody at all times. So, can always throw him in, especially in cash games. Is there another sort of 4K play you have confidence in?
Just on the Wilson front.
Sure.
There was something last night that he left the game, something to do with his neck.
Okay.
They talked about after the game. So would not be surprised to see him out of the lineup, but it could have also just been precautionary.
Sure.
They put Schumann in. I think Schumann got that bad in the ninth inning. So could definitely just be precautionary and he plays, but just keeping that in mind.
Sure.
Potential.
I don't see any updates on that anywhere today. So, but maybe because something like you said, it's a late game, so we'll have to wait and see, I guess, where that goes.
Bichette probably in the if we're talking to anyone else in the 4K tier, it's probably Bichette for me. Just he's been really good, and there's been power, which is something we were not talking about earlier in the year.
Sure. Correa isn't someone you've been high on. Obviously, I don't think it really matters too much on the matchup here, but if it is a lefty, it's been the better split for him over his career. Again,
this year included, by the way. He has a 400 ISO against lefties.
Story did not come through yesterday, but is home and is against a lefty, and one that gives up home runs. So maybe $3,300 for him.
Does he? Used to give up home runs.
Well,
Kikuchi, he has not given up a lot this year.
If you pitch to the right guys, you might.
That's true.
Anyway, Story's 33. Meadroth has some speed. We obviously know. Mentioned Mateo on the show. If he gets on some solo base upside, is there any other shortstops?
Yeah, if Ronnie Mauricio's in the lineup, 2K, they're expected to call him up. I think Vientos has a IL stint in his future.
Yeah.
If we get the Mets lineup and Ronnie Mauricio's in there, dude, he was raking at AAA. And I am a little salty because I may or may not have tried to go add him earlier in the day, and he was picked up in a specific fantasy baseball league by someone that might be named Bob, and it was frustrating. So it was a sharp pickup, but I think Mauricio, dude, Kershaw's hasn't looked good in like a year and a half against righties, and that includes this year in his short stint so far. So if Mauricio's in the lineup, if he gets called up and he's in the lineup, I have some interest in a 2K punt. It's like kind of, do you want to punt him? Do you want to punt Cole Young? Like one of those two guys looks pretty good.
Young, obviously, second base, the easier position to punt than short, given the talent up top. But I could see it because, again, a couple of years ago, top prospect, he made his debut, was okay. Only the number 9 prospect in their organization right now, but again, it was higher a few years ago.
He also got hurt. He also had a massive injury last year, and he got had to miss basically the whole year plus until this recent stint in AAA.
Yep, agreed. Outfield, again, difficult to sort of, tell you exactly where to go. Obviously, we like Philadelphia. Lefties against Francis here. Schwarber hitting cleanup. Aaron Judge, Ohtani homered again last night. Acuna leading off against Gallen. Buxton versus Beto or Lopez is elite. So, again, don't really have a bad play, I don't think. Basically 5K and up here.
Dude, the Judge, Ohtani, Cal Raleigh, like Sosa, McGuire, Bonds home run race is crazy.
Yeah. Was there a third man in that Sosa McGuire that fell off at one point?
Yeah, I think there was.
Right?
I thought there was.
I feel like there was a third man that was hanging around for a little bit. We
like
did get Dodgers lineup. Betts is hitting second. Hassan Kim is in the lineup, hitting ninth. So you got
no Edman,
no rushing. So
no Edman, no rushing. Yeah. Shout out Dalton Rushing. His first career home run comes off a position player. Good for you, dude. X-Red Sox great. Pablo Reyes served it up. Yeah, I don't think there's a wrong answer. I mean, I would love, again, selfishly, I would love Byron Buxton to be facing a lefty, but like, guy had 2 hits and 5 RBIs with a righty on the mound last night. So like, and he stole a base. Byron Buxton just once again like comes off IL, steals 2 bases in 3 games. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I don't think there's a wrong answer. I would probably, like, if I was shrinking my pool a little bit, Schwarber probably the top overall guy for me. Buxton's up, and Buxton probably the 2 that I would like, and then Acuna. Those are probably like the 3 guys I prefer. And to Game Rock's point, he was talking about Eugenio. You can always play Suarez in a tournament just because he hits so many home runs, and like Arizona in general hits a lot of home runs. I'm definitely more on the Strider side than I am on the Arizona side tonight. Okay. But like, if you're against playing Spencer Strider, then yeah, you could obviously play Eugenio Suarez.
Okay. And just to clarify that, Griffey actually had more homers than Sosa at the All-Star break that year. So that was
what a sick second half.
Yeah, Sosa hit 33 more homers in the second half. McGuire obviously hit 33 as well to get to 70 there, and then or whatever he had there, 66, I think it was.
What did Griffey? Griffey's just like, I'll just hit 350 instead. Like, I'm good.
Yeah, what did he end up finishing with? He finished with 70. Okay, so he finished with 70 and 98. So yeah, and then Griffey in 1998 finished with, he probably ended up like getting hurt or something like that. He
John,
finished with 56.
We did just get an A's lineup, no Jacob Wilson.
All right, there you go.
And you ready for the starting pitcher?
Neither of whom we talked about so far.
The answer is C. Grant Holman is the starter. I believe his name is Grant.
Would it be the first time we made up a first name on this show?
No, I think I actually do think this checks out. I think his name is Grant Holman.
Yeah, Grant Holman is correct. Yes.
Not Grant Holman.
He's a righty. Grant Holman's a righty.
He is a righty. He is a pitcher. He is 25 years old. He actually, happy late birthday, May 31st was his birthday. So shout out to Grant Holman on your birthday.
17 games this year, 19 innings, 6K per 9, almost a 5 ERA. So things, again, not necessarily great for him. Don't know how long I guess he'll be in this game. 1.7 homers to righties per 9 to righties on the year. So take that for what it's worth. It doesn't really change much, I don't think, for me in this matchup, though. I think I'd still play Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out.
There's your Vientos to the IL, by the way.
Oh, we're just nailing everything right now. I'm not saying the Grant Holman thing changes. Like, I just want to know who's pitching after.
Right.
Like, I would enjoy knowing who the
Because
long
he's only
man
been a
is.
reliever, so he's the opener, right? Like,
Yep. And now, circling back to the comment earlier, the A's have the worst ERA in baseball. It doesn't really matter. Like, them going with a reliever might be worse for them because their bullpen stinks. So, a beat writer for the A's, Martin Gallegos, said Grant Holman is opening today's game. He did not specify anything after that. But I will tweet at him and I will report back if we get an answer live.
If you get an answer in the meantime, yeah. All right. So obviously, again, Philly is where we like to go. Atlanta is where we like to go today in the outfield against Gallen. Lefties for Philly against Toronto. Mid-range for us here. Again, Yankees are on play. But Bellinger's hitting cleanup. Wallner at $4,600 feels maybe a little expensive, but ballpark obviously matters there. Would you play any of the other Cincinnati guys? You obviously mentioned Ellie, but like Friedel's 45 against Peralta. Would you have any interest there?
I would say the problem is that Detroit is like cheaper, right? Like they're cheaper. And
Sure.
Shane Smith, although the numbers look pretty good, they don't under the hood. They look pretty bad against lefties.
Yeah.
And I wrote that up in the playbook today. There's some really bad stuff behind the scenes. I mean, lefties are hitting 205 BABIP, so 205 on all balls in play, 472 xFIP, 42% fly ball rate. In most cases, you asked me about like the ballpark is good for the Reds, and like we know Peralta has been whatever.
Yeah. Ownership's kind of interesting in the outfield. It's the Angels. A lot of even Kikuchi just moved up in ownership.
Angels in the outfield, you don't say.
Hey, Trout, Ward, and Soler are like 3 of the top 10 outfielders in ownership right now. Kikuchi got all the way up to 17%. He's now the 4th highest rostered pitcher. Rodon's your highest rostered pitcher now. Strider bumped down a spot. Parker Meadows obviously getting a lot of love. We kind of highlighted the thought there. Judge is your top spend up at $6,000, $6,500, up over 10%. But then everybody else, at least for now, is under 10% ownership here.
Yeah, I mean, the Angels thing is interesting, right? Because it can really always go one of two ways. I am much more unlikely to play Angels when they're this highly rostered because it could go so disastrously bad.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm dead. And we'll know right in the first inning, like we knew yesterday, right? 3 home runs in the first inning by the Angels, 5 home runs for the game. Like we knew right away, like, okay, if you played Angels today, you're having a good day. If you didn't, you're dead, because that's what they do. And that's what it's going to be like today. I'd still rather like, you could play Taylor Ward at 43 against a guy who's good against righties, or you could play Kerry Carpenter 42, who's against a guy who's not good against righties or lefties. And then you have the leadoff hitter for even cheaper. Like the Angels being that much more popular than like the Tigers is a little interesting. Even Baltimore to that extent, where O'Hearn and Cowser are sitting here in the mid 4s. I like both those guys as well. So, not so much in on the Angels chalk. That's a little. I'd still rather play Brian Bayo than I would the Angels. Like if I'm ranking that out, I'd still rank Bayo ahead of the Angels offense.
Okay. What else we got here? Anything other for the outfield for you?
So you can obviously play Ref Snyder if you're anti-Kikuchi.
Sure.
Steven, yes, on the twin stack, all the twins anywhere and everywhere. Doesn't matter. Whatever twins you get to, do it because they're great. We just have to wait for their lineup. Parker Meadows, as you mentioned, 3,700. Monster first game. You can play Caglione here at 35. I like Kepler quite a bit. We talked about this last night, like the Kepler versus Marsh thing. Like if you end up going to Brandon Marsh for $400 cheaper, it's fine. But I'd rather just find the $400 to play Max Kepler instead of Brandon Marsh, just because the power. But you could play either Phillies lefty. If Bader's in the lineup, you could play Bader. Wenzel hitting 6th. He came back, all the shine on everyone else. Guess what? He also homered yesterday. He has a good matchup there. Talkman, they did a weird thing with they're swapping Talkman and Meadroth for some reason, but Talkman leading off. You could play Talkman if you want. And that's probably it. I don't think we really need to I would suggest Ozuna, but that game obviously looks a little. I think Cam the Man had said. I think it was Cam the Man that said Roth, but I thought he said something about yellow, but I still see the Roth report with just straight orange on the Texas Tampa game. I don't know if he tweeted that it's any different than that, but I'll be doing. He's actually tweeted 50 seconds ago. Kevin Roth said, "Currently, I have no real and shout out Kevin Roth, the GOAT, over at Roto-Grinders. Currently, I have no real confidence in any specific outcome in Tampa. Just a mess of on and off showers."
Okay.
So I am not a fan of that game.
I mean, on and off showers is fine for hitters. It's just not great for pitchers. So.
On and off showers if they want to keep playing. Because if it's on and off showers until 3 a.m., do they have enough of a pocket to play?
Sure. Fair enough. All right, let's get our cores in here. Obviously, you have Harper as your cover, your playbook. Is he your first baseman?
Yeah, I mean, if we can get to Harper, I would say just like first 3 names offensively, I would want Harper. Harper's in the lineup, Brandon. Yep. Harper, Schwarber, Correa.
All right. You said Cole Young is in the lineup?
Yeah, he's hitting 8th.
On that, pitcher.
Yeah, he's in the lineup, Brandon. He has an elbow. He got hit with a pitch, but he's back. Missed a couple games.
We go route here, $7,400.
Yeah.
Go route Harper, Young, Correa, Schwarber as our core, and we'll finish the lineup for all of you guys in that Discord. So again, I know a lot of you have joined. We appreciated you guys joining the Discord and getting in there. Hit the link in the description to join the Discord or go to fantasyalarm.com, create an account. It's free to do. And then join the Discord from there, and you'll be able to get the completed example lineup. Again, for those of you who may have missed the announcement, I'll make it kind of one last time here. We had some issues with a video getting taken down last week by YouTube. Some feedback we got was maybe because we were doing full lineups at the end of the show. They did recently change their terms and conditions for creators as of the beginning of last month. So we're now doing a partial core lineup for you guys, and we'll post the full lineup in the Discord. So make sure you check that thing out. Playbook's out for you guys over at Fantasy Alarm from Grande. We'll be in the Discord. Ownership's been updated, and we'll catch you guys.